Good evening and welcome to Bent TV. Later in the programme, we meet the goddess, who allows us to listen in to some of the confessions that she receives and her kind and compassionate responses she gives not. Then we present the final part of our interview with Skye High, who details her book, From Darkness to Diva. But we'll begin tonight by joining Mark and his guests in the Bear Cave discussing bears and mental health.
Hi, I'm Big Bear Mark and this is the Bear Cave. Joining me in the Bear Cave today is James Houghton. How are you going, James?
G'day, Mark. How you going?
Good. And Steve Charles.
Hello, Mark.
Good
to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Now, today we're going to be discussing something that's been very popular within the bear culture in the last couple of years especially. I've seen it come up at Southern Hibernation at the Mr. Australasian Bear Contest quite often.
Yeah.
And that's bears and mental health.
Yep.
Because I think there's a growing awareness of mental health within the bear community and people actively doing something about it. How do you see that, James?
I'd agree with you, Mark. I think mental health is kind of growing. There's a lot of energy going into kind of combating the stigma around mental health. There's funding that's going into mental health a lot more than there ever has been before. And I don't think, when we think about bears particularly, I don't think anyone's immune. There's no kind of, there's nobody that can't suffer from some kind of depression or anxiety. And I think it's really important that that whole stigma thing is addressed. We have enough trouble. We battle stigma for being who we are sexually. We're still fighting that. You can get a double whammy if you've got depression or if you've got some kind of mental health challenge as well. So I think, I absolutely agree. I think raising the awareness is really important, something we all suffer from. Yeah,
and as James said, we're looking at that double whammy effect that, we're not only looking at, it's well known that gays and lesbians face more mental health problems for being gay and lesbian.
Yep.
Obviously, there are other issues like body image that we have to battle with as well, Steve.
Yep.
Definitely, yes. Well, that's one of the things that I battled with as a younger man growing up, was size and body image and all of those kind of things as well. And it is depressing. I mean, that's why you get pretty down about. And if you're the kind of person that can't lose weight easily, or you're prone to eat all of the wrong things, or as you grow older, you like beer and you like scones and you like all those kind of things. You try and get a balance.
What's on television these days? I mean, if you look at any like free-to-air TV, what's it about? Food.
It's all food programs.
It's all food. It's either food or rebuilding some derelict house somewhere.
It is.
But the food thing is an enormous. We're a highly kind of food-focused culture at the moment, which means, sorry, Mark.
No, yeah, and I was just going to say, and that all goes into bears especially. We're looking at things like diabetes and those sort of diseases, which also affect our mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing too is, as you're getting older as well, I find a lot of people are still trying to hang on to the youth through gay culture.
Yep.
That's a big thing that I find, that there's still, once you get over about 35, you're into your early 40s and all that sort of stuff, and you no longer fit into the Twinkie circles, and like going to a nightclub isn't exciting, and for some, and and you're not into the party drugs, and you're not into any of those kind of things so much anymore, and suddenly you set adrift in a world that doesn't seem to fit in with the propagation of gay culture, and the way that it's shown and advertised and broadcast and all those kind of things. And so I find a lot of older guys tend to fall into that kind of very lost kind of circle, and that can add to to mental stress and to feeling depressed.
Absolutely. And when you think about the two things, what are the two things that people promote when you think about mental health? The two things that get top of the list are healthy diet.
Yes.
And exercise. And I don't know about you guys, but they're the two things that I struggle the hardest with. I love food. I love pastry. I love anything that's not good for me. The things that are least good for you taste the best is how it goes.
Sugar butter mix.
Absolutely.
I know, sugar and butter, hello.
Almost in a bowl by itself.
Yeah, exactly.
And exercise. I I hate the smell of a gym. The idea of getting together, sounds odd to say this, but, you know, gay man, I'm kind of anti the whole getting together with a bunch of sweaty guys, but I hate the gym thing.
You're feeling right.
I think I might be running a temperature.
I think if we remove the exercise from that equation, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
And exactly right. I mean, Vic Bears at least has some programs. They've got the Bear Heart program going, which does actually promote a healthy lifestyle. They've got Aqua Bear, so there are some avenues, and they do Bears on the Prowl, which is like walking around a park. So there are some healthier outlets there for you.
Having said that too, there are a lot of people who identify as bear that are very healthy, sporty types as well. We don't really see, you know, they don't really try. It's not really promoted within the bear culture. And again, talking about bear culture, but then they've got other issues to deal with as well. You know, like relationships. You know,
all the things that everybody
relationships
suffers
when they break up, and you know, you've been together for 25 years, and all of those kind of things. So how are you going to pay the next bill when, you know, suddenly you're just working casually because you're not going to get employed, you know, as a 20-year-old in a full-time position anymore, or you're not a professional, you know, things like that, you know. So,
and there are some good initiatives. I mean, there's Are You OK Day, and that, you know, that's something that comes up every year, and there's a really kind of positive way of looking out for each other. Although I do think a lot of us tend to avoid because asking someone, "Are you okay?" if you suspect they might not be, could open a floodgate of stuff that you don't know where to go with.
Yeah,
it's
and
true.
If you're going to ask someone that, you've got to be prepared for them to say no if they say no.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You've got to have something in your arsenal. You've got to have some tools, and you know, for a lot of us, it's a struggle. But there are lots of. We talked before about there's lots of services out there.
I don't know about that. I mean, if you are seeing somebody that's struggling and you think that they are struggling, and you ask them that, and then they open up about it. If you can't deal with it, I mean, you're just as honest to say, well, I really don't know how to help you. Should we have a look for another avenue? You know, there's other ways of going around it instead of trying to take it on yourself.
And just while we're on that topic, when we're looking for help, I mean, first of all, go to your GP. Is a great first line of defence for depression.
Absolutely.
They'll refer you to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Then, if you really need some help, Lifeline 131114. You've got Beyond Blue, which is a fantastic organisation, 1300 224636, and also there's the switchboard, which used to be known as the Gay and Lesbian switchboard as well, which is 1800 184 527. So there are great resources out there.
And one thing, Mark, a lot of people don't know is that mental health nurses now actually have a form of credentialing. So as a mental health nurse, you can actually get you can get qualified and supported to help people. So you don't have to be scared of drugs. You know, seeing a psychiatrist is one of the options. Mental health nurse is another.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
I'm Big Bear Mark, and this has been The Bear Cave, and thanks for joining us.
Bless me, Goddess, for I have sinned.
Kerry, bless me, Goddess, for I have sinned.
Hi, I'm sexy, and forgive me, Goddess, for I have sinned. Oh, that'll stay there. Forgive me, Goddess, for I have sinned.
Oh, what time is it?
Bless me, Goddess, for I have sinned.
Bless me, Goddess, for I have sinned.
It has been 30 years since I was last in a confessional box.
Bless me, Goddess, for I have sinned.
Bless me, Goddess, for I have sinned. Hang on, I'll be with you in a minute.
Bless me, Goddess, for I have sinned.
Aaron Hockley, bless me, Goddess, for I have sinned.
I just need to get something. The Goddess is ready now.
Bless me, Goddess, for I have sinned.
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 Please tell me your most delicious and wicked sin, and don't leave anything out.
Goddess, I still own acid wash jeans.
Oh, Lordy.
Envy and fluoro.
Come on now, you can tell the goddess everything. You can trust me.
Well, that sort of just then was.
It was just down there.
And this is Mrs. Betty Windsor. She's a sin.
I honestly have done so many, I really don't know where to start. So I can't give you one off the top of my head.
I'm a very good girl, so I don't have any sins at all to confess.
My most wicked sin. I took way too long to find the love of a lifestyle.
Oh, is that the best you can do? Come on, something spicy.
When I was 18, I was still at school, I remember. I broke into my coordinator's car and I stole his mailways. And I made sure that everything was normal and everything was fine in his car. And I locked everything up and I put his keys back where he'd left them in his office. And my sin is that I don't actually feel guilty about it at all.
I guess probably I used low-fat milk in a scone recipe once.
My most wicked sin is that I write about sin. I'm an author of erotica, BDSM, and a practitioner for 20 years.
Please tell me your most delicious and wicked sin, and don't leave anything out.
Well, look, my most wicked sin is I was 46 before I actually got to Europe, which I couldn't believe that it had taken me that part of my life to actually get there. And then when I got there, I realised how much sinning there was to do on the other side of the world. It was heaven. It was absolutely fabulous. What about you, darling?
Oh, my most wicked sin. Oh, let's see. Oh my God. When I came out 3 years ago, but before that I sinned quite a lot.
That sounds heavenly.
Probably these.
My most wicked sin is pride. I just can't get enough of it. I even wear a flag sometimes.
Not matching my hair with my outfit. It looked awful. I had people running, screaming. It was a terrible day.
You will burn in hell.
Oh my God, I love hot weather. Thank you.
My most wicked sin is I crashed my mother's car and then I parked it in her garage and didn't say anything about it, and she blamed my uncle for it for about 7 years, and I never said anything.
Oh, let's all behave now.
I was once in a queue for tickets at a movie, and a woman was there with her son, and he was crying a lot and he was being a bit bratty, and I could tell that their relationship meant that she wasn't going to shut him up. So I hit him with my umbrella when she wasn't looking.
A long time ago, I got very drunk with a friend of mine, and we decided that a roundabout full of tulips looked too pretty to stay there, and we ripped them all up and took them home and planted them in our garden.
I mixed vinyl with leather. It's terrible.
I'm not proud of this at all. When I was straight and married, I had multiple affairs with women. Go figure.
Oh, I think it's getting a little warm in here.
My most wicked sin is that I've committed adultery at least 50 times. And, you know, the wives, I've actually gone to their houses and told them as well that I've been screwing their husbands.
My most wicked sin was lusting after a priest.
fantasizing about priests. There's nothing wrong with that because we've been brought up, we've been raised to know that that's what priests like. So you're actually doing a community service, stopping them touching those poor choir boys, which once I was one, go after the priest, give him a couple of tugs and see what's going, and say you're ready for your Holy Communion.
My most wicked sin, I guess it would have to be with all the married men that I've been with, that I haven't been married to. Yeah, that's pretty sinful, I think. Isn't it? Yeah.
James, so you love beats. That's lovely, darling heart, or the grinder, or the scruff, or the squirt. That's very nice. Or the RBT. I can't remember them all. There's so many of them. But that's good if as long as you're happy and they're happy, darling heart. That's fine. As long as the wife doesn't know, I think that's lovely too. Because you don't really want to inflict that on her, and it's the husband's responsibility. You just do what you feel like doing.
My most wicked sin is dating a guy who I invited to my house for a party. He brought his cousin and he fell asleep after a few drinks and I slept with his cousin.
Ooh, that's more like it.
I went on a trip to Berlin and I had sex with a porn star. Her name was Susie Amadeus.
Susie Amadeus, a very good friend of mine. I'm glad you enjoyed her as much as I did.
Early on in my 20s, I was in a relationship and accidentally brought a boy home from a bar and had sex with him on a couch while my boyfriend was sleeping in the next room. So that was a bit wicked of me. But probably my worst sin was probably not being nice to myself.
My most wicked sin would be servicing a Marine on the USS Constellation on the flight deck, underneath an F-14.
That sounds like fun.
Being gangbanged by 8 to 10 people on one particular night.
Oh. I once slept with my sister's fiance, but that was before they were together, and then they got engaged to be married.
Remember that the goddess is always watching.
Good evening, my name is Steve Pereira. Welcome to Quedia on Ben TV, where we explore all things art and culture. Tonight we have the second part of our interview with author and well-known Australian drag personality Skye High, talking about a recently released and soon-to-be best-selling biography, From Darkness to Diva. Buy it now before it sells out. Welcome back, Skye. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me back.
And how's the book going so far?
You know what, the book's doing very, very well. The international sales are doing extremely well, so it's good to get the message out there, and that's the intended purpose of the book.
Let's go back to the purpose of the book. So what was it? Was it cathartic? Was it sort of a release?
You know what, to delve back inside myself and to have to relive the memories that I did of certainly growing up, primary school, high school, you know, and not dissimilar to many people being beaten up every single day of my life because I had a difference that I didn't know about. You know, to relive that. And I hope that I've done the book justice in terms of when the reader or the person reading, I hope they're feeling exactly how I felt at that moment in time.
One of I was going to read a comment, certainly my own reflections on it, was it's brutal, it's hard, it's honest, but it's very direct. And it's also, and in context, where people say it's very Australian. Do you feel you've got a particular Australian story to tell?
I think I have a particularly human story to tell. You know, the surrounds, yes. I talk about being in Australia and what it's like, gay life in Australia. But I don't believe it's necessarily Australian as such. I think that the story is more broader than that.
I just want to talk about something that was really personal in the book, which is about the trauma of the deaths of your parents. Now, and it's an extraordinary chapter to read in the book, and people should read that. But just the brief details was your parents died within a week of each other.
In the same week.
In the
correct.
same week. Do you want to just talk us through the details of that?
I think, again, I come back to wanting to write the book and express how I was feeling. So when the reader's reading it, they knew how I was feeling. For me, I didn't know either of my parents was unwell or ill.
Because you were in New South Wales at that time.
I was living in Sydney at that time. So whilst I'd have the telephone conversations with my mum, and I talk about the relationship that I had with my parents, both my mum and my dad was quite stagnant even at that time. I received a call one night on a Tuesday night to say that my mother had been taken to, she was in hospital. And I was, as you can imagine, distressed and concerned and very confused as to know why I hadn't been told.
Because your relationship with your mother was quite different to the one with your father. It was...
I think my relationship with my mother, both weren't intact at all.
Right.
I think that whilst my mother and I went through the initial, you know, the motions of having a conversation, there was no real depth behind the meaning of the words. And I never wanted to give up. You know, I wanted to mend certainly the situation, and I wanted to live my life. You know, I found that I was appeasing them more so than living my own life, so I had to draw the line somewhere.
So were you talking to your father at that point, or were you? Oh.
Not overly.
No.
He may answer the phone, but in terms of a relationship with my parents, no. No, there was nothing. But that doesn't mean that you don't think about them, and you know the love that I have even to this day for them. It's yeah.
So you're in New South Wales. You get a call to say your mum's not well.
Mm-hmm. I get a call 2 hours after that to say that she'd passed away.
Sorry, I'm trying to recollect, but you hadn't come to Melbourne by that point?
No. I didn't come back until their funerals. So my mother passed away on the Monday night. My father passed away on the Sunday, the day that I arrived back in Melbourne to go to my mother's funeral. I had my mother's funeral on the Monday and my father's on the Wednesday.
And you were staying at a hotel because you
wasn't welcome to stay with my family, correct. So, you know, the book, it opens up a whole range of feelings, certainly for me. And a lot of the things that I've spoken about, I've obviously dealt with. But there are still people who find themselves in similar situations, you know.
I know, but so, it's the trauma of it, and just to share, because you also then go back to New South Wales, only to discover that, was that trip? Or?
No, it was a bit,
it was a bit later. I'm conflating all of the trauma together.
The guys that I had lived with who actually introduced me to this wonderful world of drag. He and I had decided to go and live in Sydney because it was the gay capital of Australia and we wanted to explore ourselves and our identities, and it was several years after that I...
Oh, right, okay, sorry. In my mind, it conflated into one because...
No, not that much tragedy going on at one time.
There was enough to go around. So anyway, you went back to Sydney and this guy had emptied your apartment.
Pretty much. Cleaned me out. So a friend that I had known for just over 10 years, you know, and spent my life of 10 years with, for whatever reason. You know, I speculate in the book why I believe that happened, but to walk into your apartment and find that you have absolutely no furniture in your house, and we weren't in a relationship. There was certainly nothing sexual about our connection, but we had built a life together.
Absolutely.
You know,
that's a betrayal.
Absolutely.
That's a betrayal.
And that's something that I found very, very difficult to come to terms with.
So if for people reading the book now, and certainly for young people out there today, even though the landscape's changed, still it hasn't changed enough. What's your message to the people out there today? Particularly if they want to be someone like yourself, someone who's out there.
You know what, I think first off, you need to want to live true to yourself. You know, you need to sit down and actually work out where that line is that you want to keep people happy, but you want to be who you are. The message is simple. It's about being true to yourself and, you know, overcoming adversity, and we all have bad things happen to us in life. But it's how we overcome that and indeed the wonderful places that we end up once we work through that.
But what specifically can you tell people about how to overcome that? I mean, it's good to tell people to overcome it, but how?
You know what, there's no quick fix, obviously. Everyone does it in their own way. You know, I can say, yes, give yourself positive affirmation and you know, surround yourself with loving and generous people. That worked for me. That doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So whilst I can only talk about my experience in the book, I don't have a magic cure or a quick fix for people to be who they are.
But I think that's the answer in itself, is that there is no quick fix.
No.
And you're going to have to deal with it one situation at a time, every day at a time.
That's the point. You have to deal with it. You know, at some point you have to keep going through life. You know, you can't take the easy way out. You need to be a survivor.
Thank you so much. That is a profound message and a very true message. Thank you, Skye, for being with us. Stay tuned for soon the stage musical, followed by the movie of From Darkness to Diva by Skye High. You've been watching Steve Pereira on Ben TV. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night.